18-year-old Anna Kepner joined the Carnival Horizon for what was meant to be a peaceful family vacation. But only days later, her life ended under circumstances that remain unclear, prompting questions that have echoed far beyond the ship. As documents and testimony surface, new details reveal growing tension within the family and the unexpected decisions made in the days that followed Anna's passing. A court filing later described Anna's stepbrother, a minor, as a suspect.
We had talked it over
not
with
by
our travel agent,
investigators,
and that was
but
what was
by his own
suggested.
parents as they navigated a difficult custody dispute. He was then sent to stay with relatives while
Did she allow you
officials
to drink
continued their
alcohol?
work.
Yeah.
With key reports still pending, this case now stands at the intersection of unanswered questions, shifting family dynamics, and the search for clarity in a situation filled with uncertainty. When Anna Kepner stepped onto the Carnival Horizon, she was surrounded by family members who believed the trip would offer calm before the holiday season. The atmosphere on board was lively, warm, and full of anticipation. Anna, known for her bright smile and steady confidence, blended naturally into the rhythm of the ship. Yet beneath that sense of normalcy, small moments would later gain significance as investigators reviewed the timeline. Anna traveled with her grandparents, her father, her stepmother, and both her siblings and step-siblings. For a blended family, the vacation represented rare time spent together in one place. Photos captured her laughing on deck, enjoying the sun, and sharing meals with relatives. Nothing in those early images suggested tension. The group moved through excursions and daily ship activities as any other family would, unaware that the trip would become the center of national attention. In the first days of the voyage, Anna appeared to be in good spirits. She checked in with friends back home, posted brief updates, and participated in family plans. Those close to her later described her as focused on school and preparing for new opportunities. Her future was something she spoke about openly. This made the sudden shift in the narrative even more difficult for loved ones who struggled to understand how everything changed in such a short time. The Carnival Horizon carried thousands of passengers, but it also created an intimate setting within each cabin. Shared rooms meant shared routines, and Anna's cabin included multiple teens. Although blended families often require adjustments, relatives said the group generally interacted comfortably. The ship's narrow hallways, scheduled activities, and fixed sleeping arrangements would later become crucial reference points as officials mapped out the final confirmed movements of everyone on board. Crew members recalled nothing unusual during the early portion of the trip. Anna joined activities, ate with family, and participated in daily ship events. To outsiders, her presence blended seamlessly with the general energy of other travelers her age. The ship's security systems, cameras, and controlled access areas formed the backdrop for what investigators would eventually review, though these early days offered no obvious indications of upcoming concerns. As the voyage progressed, subtle shifts within family dynamics were not evident to most observers. Those closest to Anna would later focus on small remarks, moments of separation, and changes in schedule. None of these details, on their own, suggested a problem. But in retrospect, each interaction held potential relevance as authorities attempted to build a precise timeline. The complexity of blended family relationships contributed to the challenges surrounding early assessments. The environment on board was designed for relaxation, yet every ship also carries a network of procedures, daily check-ins, and staff oversight. Anna's presence in group spaces was noted casually by others, though few remembered specific details. This would later complicate efforts to determine the exact sequence of events during the final night she was seen alive. The absence of clear, consistent witness accounts made each confirmed moment increasingly valuable to the investigation. Family members recalled that Anna spent time between shared spaces and her cabin, balancing independence with participation in group plans. She was known for being responsible and reliable, qualities that made any disruption in her routine immediately noticeable. In the days leading to the incident, no major conflicts were reported. This lack of apparent tension deepened the confusion surrounding the sudden shift that occurred later on the voyage. On cruise ships, night hours often bring scattered movements among passengers, with some attending shows, others resting, and many exploring quieter areas. Investigators later focused heavily on this period, reconstructing where Anna may have been and who last interacted with her. Because several teens shared the cabin, their movements drew particular attention. Yet a number of moments remained unclear, creating gaps that only official reports could eventually clarify. The following morning marked the beginning of rapidly unfolding events. Family members reported Anna unresponsive, prompting immediate involvement from ship staff and on-board medical teams. Procedures were activated swiftly, including securing the surrounding area and alerting officials on land. Passengers nearby recalled the sudden change in atmosphere, though many did not initially understand the gravity of the situation. What started as confusion soon became a coordinated response. Once the ship returned to port, federal officials began their review. The setting of a cruise ship introduced unique challenges, including limited space, controlled environments, and overlapping accounts. Investigators worked to identify physical evidence, digital records, and statements from those closest to Anna. Despite early attention, authorities released no public conclusions, emphasizing that multiple reports, tests, and analyses needed to be completed before any determination could be made. The death certificate provided to media outlets listed mechanical asphyxia by other person. However, this document alone did not represent the full autopsy, which remained unreleased. The distinction mattered, as officials cautioned against drawing firm conclusions. Families often seek immediate clarity, but complex cases require extensive evaluations. The absence of official statements added to public uncertainty, while investigators continued working through the methodical stages of review. While official agencies maintained silence, family discussions entered the public record through court documents. These filings referenced internal tensions, concerns, and interpretations that reflected personal perspectives rather than verified findings. The use of the word suspect in one filing was particularly notable because it did not originate from investigators, but from the parents themselves. This distinction shaped how the case was discussed and understood by the public. The teen referenced in the filing was a minor, and his circumstances quickly shifted after the family returned from the cruise. He was sent to stay with relatives, a decision described in court as temporary. It was not presented as disciplinary action, but rather as a measure taken during an ongoing family dispute. Public understanding of this move varied widely, though legal documents framed it within the context of custody, stability, and precaution. The involvement of multiple households, shared parental responsibilities, and previous disagreements intensified the complexity of the situation. Custody hearings became intertwined with a broader discussion of the cruise incident. Each parent's concerns, statements, and interpretations were shaped by their own relationship with the children involved. Because such disputes often include emotional elements, officials were careful to separate factual information from personal assertions. During the hearing, the judge determined that no immediate risk was identified for the youngest child, allowing existing arrangements to continue. This ruling did not address the broader cruise-related questions, but focused solely on the child's current living conditions. Court proceedings often progress in stages, and this decision reflected only one part of a larger legal process that would continue unfolding as additional evidence became available. Attorneys involved in the case emphasized the importance of waiting for results from toxicology testing, as well as psychological and psychiatric evaluations requested in connection with the events. These assessments could provide valuable insight, but each requires time. Their completion is essential before forming any conclusions. The need for patience becomes difficult for families seeking clarity, but it remains a necessary part of responsible investigation. Throughout this period, the FBI and medical examiner's office declined to provide detailed commentary. Maintaining confidentiality is common in sensitive cases, particularly when minors are involved. While the silence led to public speculation, officials adhered to established protocols designed to protect both the integrity of the investigation and the rights of everyone connected to the case. This approach ensures that future statements will be grounded in verified findings. As news coverage expanded, attention grew not only on the incident itself, but on the family's internal dynamics. Relatives remembered Anna as cheerful, motivated, and deeply connected to her future plans. These personal stories contrasted sharply with the uncertainty surrounding the final days of the cruise. Such contradictions deepened the emotional weight of the situation and reinforced why formal investigative outcomes were so important. Part 1 closes with a landscape marked by unanswered questions and an investigation still in motion. Key reports remain pending, witness accounts are being reviewed, and officials continue to piece together the timeline of events. For now, all available information reflects early stages of inquiry, shaped by documents, testimony, and procedural updates. The search for clarity continues, guided by the careful pace required in cases involving multiple perspectives and evolving evidence. As investigators reviewed the earliest statements, they noted how different family members described Anna's final evening. Small variations appeared in recollections of timing, conversations, and who last interacted with her. None of these differences suggested certainty, but they highlighted the challenge of building an accurate timeline. Each detail needed to be examined carefully, especially because the ship's environment limited outside observations. The presence of multiple teens in the shared cabin added another layer of complexity. Their separate accounts required careful comparison, particularly since their ages and relationships influenced how they interpreted events. Investigators paid attention to movements within the cabin, moments when individuals stepped out, and periods when they were alone. These elements formed the backbone of early assessments, but still lacked complete clarity. Family members recalled that Anna had been participating in group activities earlier that day, creating a sense of normalcy before everything shifted. Officials attempted to verify her last recorded check-ins, digital behavior, and location indicators. While some information was clear, other pieces remained ambiguous due to the ship's limited connectivity and crowded environment, complicating efforts to reconstruct the final sequence. The cruise line cooperated by providing logs, staff statements, and available security footage. However, footage on cruise ships does not cover every area, particularly private cabin spaces. This limitation meant that key moments depended heavily on witness accounts rather than continuous visual evidence. As a result, investigators were tasked with combining partial recordings with first-hand descriptions to form a working narrative. As more documents were reviewed, the focus shifted to interactions among the teens. Officials sought to understand whether any unusual behavior had been observed in the hours before the incident. Some relatives mentioned ordinary disagreements, while others insisted nothing stood out. These contrasting views required careful evaluation, as emotional memory can shift under stress or after unexpected events. The decision to refer to the stepbrother as a suspect in a court filing added significant public attention, though this designation came from parents, not investigators. Legal experts emphasized that such language in filings often reflects personal concern rather than confirmed information. Because minors are involved, officials maintained strict confidentiality, avoiding public labels while emphasizing the need for ongoing review. The teens' relocation to stay with relatives raised questions, but court testimony indicated it was a temporary arrangement made during a period of uncertainty. Attorneys explained that the goal was stability, while officials continued collecting reports. This measure did not imply conclusions, but it became a focal point for public curiosity, as observers tried to interpret the family's decisions amid limited information. As custody proceedings progressed, parents offered their interpretations of events, each shaped by their own experiences and concerns. These statements became part of the record, but were not treated as verified facts. Courts often encounter emotionally driven testimony in family cases, and judges must distinguish between genuine fear, speculation, and evidence-based risk assessments. The judge's ruling that the younger child could remain with Chantal Hudson reflected a careful evaluation of home stability, rather than any conclusions about the cruise incident. This distinction was important, as courts seldom address broader investigations unless immediate safety issues are presented. The decision underscored the separation between criminal inquiries and family law procedures. While legal matters continued, investigators still awaited key results from toxicology testing. These tests are standard in unexplained deaths and can clarify whether substances played any role. Processing times vary depending on lab workload and the complexity of the case. Until results are finalized, any theories about contributing factors remain speculative and cannot be relied upon in official assessments. Psychological and psychiatric evaluations associated with the case were also pending. These assessments are commonly ordered when minors are involved in stressful or traumatic situations. The findings can help determine support needs or clarify behavioral factors, but they do not assign responsibility. Their purpose is to offer insight, not to indicate wrongdoing, and officials treat them with sensitivity. The silence from investigators prompted broad speculation online, though authorities cautioned that withholding information is standard during early stages. Releasing details prematurely can influence witness statements or affect the reliability of future evidence. A decision to remain quiet is strategic, ensuring that eventual findings are based on thorough review rather than external pressure. Members of the extended family expressed frustration, balancing grief with a desire for clarity. Some spoke publicly about Anna's goals, her personality, and her relationships with those around her. These reflections highlighted the emotional impact of the situation, but also introduced subjective interpretations, which investigators must separate from factual material needed for formal conclusions. Public attention intensified as multiple media outlets reported on the case, often drawing from court filings rather than investigative updates. Because filings contain perspective-driven language, interpretations varied widely. Analysts emphasized that such documents capture individual viewpoints rather than official declarations. This distinction remained crucial for preventing misunderstandings about the direction of the inquiry. Meanwhile, the cruise ship environment itself continued to pose challenges. Officials needed to verify statements about cabin arrangements, timing of entries and exits, and any disturbances noted by nearby passengers. Even small inconsistencies in recollections required careful cross-checking. Investigators faced a delicate balance between respecting grief-stricken families and ensuring accurate assessments. As interviews proceeded, authorities explored whether additional passengers or staff had indirectly observed relevant interactions. Though few had direct knowledge, some offered impressions of the family's general demeanor during the trip. These accounts, while not definitive, helped investigators understand broader context surrounding the atmosphere on board during the final days. Each new piece of information required integration into a broader timeline. Officials compiled digital activity logs, keycard entries, and communication patterns to fill in gaps. Even so, several time periods remained incomplete due to natural limitations of cruise ship record systems. These gaps reinforced the need for caution before drawing conclusions about any individual's role. Family law experts noted that custody disputes often intensify emotional responses, particularly when linked to stressful events. Statements made in this context can reflect fear, confusion, or attempts to influence legal outcomes. Because of this, investigators avoid relying solely on such filings, instead prioritizing independent evidence, verified timelines, and professional analysis. Through each step of the process, Anna's memory remained central to family discussions. Relatives emphasized her goals, her achievements, and her relationships with those close to her. These reflections deepened public empathy and renewed calls for patience while investigators worked quietly. With several reports still pending, family members hoped for eventual clarity that would honor Anna's life and resolve unanswered questions. Part 2 closes with an investigation still unfolding and a family navigating legal, emotional, and practical challenges. Authorities continue reviewing evidence while maintaining confidentiality due to the involvement of minors. Court proceedings evolved separately from investigative work, creating two parallel tracks toward clarity. For now, the case remains defined by careful examination, pending reports, and a commitment to accuracy over speculation. As the investigation entered its quieter phase, officials focused on validating earlier statements and determining which details required deeper review. This process often takes longer than families expect, especially when multiple agencies are involved. Each new confirmation, no matter how small, helped refine the broader picture of Anna's final days, reinforcing the need for accuracy before any official commentary could be released. Forensic specialists continued analyzing available materials, acknowledging that cruise ship environments limit the quantity of physical evidence. Despite these constraints, experts used standardized methods to assess whatever samples or digital traces were preserved. Their work aimed to clarify what could be supported by measurable data, rather than relying solely on recollections shaped by stress, memory gaps, or emotional strain. Meanwhile, attorneys representing different family members prepared for additional hearings. These legal sessions were not designed to assign responsibility for the cruise incident, but to address custody and parental communication. Still, the underlying tragedy influenced each interaction, as emotions remained heightened. The courtroom became a space where procedural matters intersected with personal grief and lingering uncertainty. Statements made during these hearings helped investigators understand shifting family dynamics. Although not treated as evidence in the investigation itself, these comments offered context about relationships, concerns, and previous disagreements. Officials reviewing the case understood that emotionally charged remarks must be considered carefully, acknowledging the difference between personal perception and verifiable information. Outside the courtroom, public interest continued to grow. Community members organized discussions, shared memories of Anna, and expressed support for her relatives. This wave of attention created both comfort and pressure for the family. While many appreciated the compassion, others felt overwhelmed by the constant questions, emphasizing the difficulty of navigating grief under public scrutiny. Media outlets reported updates cautiously, relying primarily on court documents and family statements due to the lack of official briefings. Journalists attempted to avoid assumptions while explaining the procedural steps still underway. This careful reporting highlighted the sensitivity of the situation and the importance of distinguishing confirmed facts from interpretations shaped by ongoing legal activity. In the absence of confirmed information, online discussions varied widely. Some participants focused on timelines, others on family relationships, and still others on procedural details involving the ship.
We had talked it over with our travel
Investigators
agent,
monitored
and that
none
was
of
what
these
was suggested.
conversations, but legal experts reminded the public that unofficial speculation often overlooks critical context. Responsible understanding depends on verified reports, not public theories. As toxicology tests progressed, specialists reviewed possible explanations, regardless of how unlikely they seemed. Comprehensive evaluations must consider every scenario before eliminating possibilities. These tests require precision and can take weeks or months to complete, especially when multiple panels are needed. Their purpose is to assist investigators, not to dictate conclusions independently. The psychological and psychiatric evaluations underway were equally detailed. These assessments aim to understand emotional responses, stress levels, and the broader impact of the incident on minors involved. They were not an indication of wrongdoing, but a standard measure to provide support and gather context. The confidentiality surrounding these evaluations protected the privacy of those undergoing them. While waiting for results, officials continued reconstructing the timeline using electronic records. Keycard entries, message timestamps, and other digital indicators helped establish moments of movement. Although these fragments could not provide a full picture, they offered reliable anchors. Every confirmed timestamp reduced the uncertainty surrounding the late night and early morning hours connected to the incident. Witness interviews also played an important role. Even when individuals did not recall direct observations, their recollections of general activity patterns contributed to a more accurate understanding of cabin routines. Consistency among unrelated witnesses strengthened credibility, while discrepancies prompted additional follow-up questions. Each interview served as another piece in an intricate puzzle that required patience to assemble. Through this process, investigators avoided premature assessments. They emphasized that complex cases must be approached systematically, especially when they involve youth. The responsibility to avoid misinterpretation guided each step. Official silence did not reflect inaction. Rather, it ensured that emerging conclusions would be based on properly reviewed information rather than assumptions or external pressure. As more time passed, families on both sides continued navigating emotional, practical, and legal challenges. Their public statements reflected grief, confusion, and a desire for clarity. Despite differences in perspective, all expressed commitment to understanding what happened on the cruise. This shared hope provided a small foundation of unity, even as formal processes moved slowly forward. Community tributes to Anna highlighted her academic achievements, her dedication to cheerleading, and her plans for the future. Teachers, friends, and relatives described her as motivated and kind-spirited. These reflections served as reminders that the case was not simply a procedural matter, but the story of a young person whose life had been interrupted unexpectedly, leaving many longing for closure. Legal advisors anticipated additional hearings as new information emerged. These sessions would address practical matters such as parental communication, visitation schedules, and living arrangements. None of these proceedings were expected to determine investigative outcomes, but their timing often overlapped with updates the family received from officials, adding complexity to an already delicate situation. For investigators, the next steps depended heavily on pending reports. Toxicology results, digital analyses, and evaluations all needed to be completed before any larger determinations could be made. Each report had the potential to narrow the scope of inquiry or clarify ambiguous details. Authorities stressed that deliberate pacing reduced the risk of oversights and supported long-term accuracy. At this stage, the case became a careful balance between public interest and procedural discipline. Reporters sought updates, families sought answers, and viewers followed closely, but officials remained bound to their protocols. They understood that premature statements could shape perceptions unfairly, particularly because minors were involved. Responsible handling of the case required patience from everyone. As the holidays approached, families adapted to the emotional weight of their new reality. Daily routines felt different, and the gaps left by Anna's absence became more apparent. Support networks stepped in to help them navigate this period, offering reassurance while recognizing that no amount of comfort could replace the clarity they hoped to receive from ongoing investigations. Despite the challenges, both sides expressed willingness to cooperate fully with officials. Their participation in hearings, evaluations, and discussions reflected a desire to reach understanding without rushing conclusions. This cooperation provided investigators with essential context, ensuring that all perspectives were documented before any final reports were compiled. Part 3 closes as the investigation continues, shaped by careful analysis, pending results, and evolving legal circumstances. No definitive statements have been released, and officials remain focused on accuracy rather than speed. For now, the case exists in a space defined by ongoing review and the shared hope that future findings will offer clarity, support, and resolution for everyone affected. As this chapter of the story closes, the central questions surrounding Anna Kepner's final days remain unresolved. Families wait, investigators work quietly, and the public follows a case marked by uncertainty rather than conclusions. What is clear is the impact Anna had on those around her and the determination of many to understand the events that shaped the final hours of the voyage. With several reports still pending, the path toward clarity depends on careful review rather than immediate answers. Each document, evaluation, and verified detail brings the situation into sharper focus. Until officials release their findings, all perspectives remain part of an unfolding narrative rather than a final account. Patience becomes essential in moments where the search for understanding moves slowly. If you want to continue following this case as official updates emerge, stay connected with Crime Wisp. We follow each hearing, every public document, and all confirmed developments to bring you clear and responsible coverage. Our focus is not on speculation, but on accurate information that respects both the investigation and the people affected by it. Subscribe to Crime Wisp and activate notifications so you won't miss the next chapter of this evolving story. As agencies release new findings and families navigate the legal process, we'll be here to guide you through each step. Thank you for joining us on this careful journey toward clarity, understanding, and informed storytelling.